All right. Well, we're live. Thank you for showing up on time, and I appreciate your patience in waiting for us. My name is Bruce. My co host tonight, as always, every Monday night, is Janet from another planet.
Hello. Thank you for coming.
Episode 10 of A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie is going to be the 1985 science fiction film by Wolfgang Petersen,
The Girl
Enemy
Again
Mine.
is going to
Sorry,
be the 1985
you went
science
live on my phone where I'm trying to do that.
It's okay. Travis gives us a busting in the balls, late as usual. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Random Brad Creator, have a great night, sir. So, hey, Multi-Gun Man, how are you doing today, sir? Well, Janet, this was a movie that you wanted us to see and discuss after last week's discussion. And this movie's name is Enemy Mine. It's by Wolfgang Petersen. This is from Multi-Gun Man. It has Dennis Quaid, Louis Gossett Jr., and Byron James, one of my favorite actors. Janet, when you watched this movie recently,
Mm-hmm.
what went through your mind?
Um, it was. I still thought it was good. It brought back a lot from when I was younger, and I was really into sci-fi and stuff. So it was like I don't know. It kind of just it jolted me back in time. But uh, as an adult, more grown-up adult that knows more about movie making and certain things like that, I noticed a lot of the flaws in it that I didn't really see at all the first time I watched it. So I thought that was interesting. But I still overall though I liked the story because I thought the story was really good. I mean, I'm sure it was a book before, right?
Mhm. I think so.
Who I never read the book, but I'm sure people that read the book probably were a little disappointed when they saw the movie. But I'm glad I did first because I just remember how much I loved it the first time I watched it. So that helped a lot because I had uh, you know, I don't know, a childlike quality of memory when I watched it. Like I don't know, the smell of the popcorn, things like that. While I was watching the movie and loving the whole story behind it, especially when the baby came into the scene. I love that all of that part of it, the growth between the characters and stuff.
And this movie kind of hits on a lot of things in popular sci-fi. Um, it went with a reptilian style race, which a lot of classic sci-fi has either an insectoid or reptilian race that we're fighting against.
Hmm.
Not a whole lot of we're in perfect harmony with them, and not a lot of perfect harmony. We're like, oh, we are one. None of that. Not with these guys. And the opening scenes of it give you a little bit of narration, and you meet his co-pilot. Don't get too attached to that guy, by the way.
Yeah, he's not in it very long.
Oh, I think he might have been something else along. I might be wrong, but he reminds me of that guy that he was upset that his scale was low. So, okay, you're not just going to be a gaffer or doing cosmetics. We're going to make you an actor, and you're going to do something. Travis is like, reptilians rule the world for reals, guys. That's not science fiction.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
people that that.
I know, David.
Oh,
I
on that, a lot of
say,
Scientologists believe that we're from a reptilian race.
eh, might
So
be.
yeah, I don't know, but I'm not a Scientologist. Oh, well.
I'm not a biologist.
And I'm not a lizard, so. But yeah,
The,
yeah, I think it was the kid, that young man that they got to play the co-pilot. He reminded me of someone. I've seen him in other things. I just couldn't put my finger on it.
he's
But
done bit
he
roles
looked,
all over the place.
I guess it's because I'm old now, because he looked like a 12-year-old kid. Did he look young to you?
Yeah, he looked like he was about 23, 25.
God, he had a baby face. I mean, his face looked very,
He had
very,
a fat face. It was like young.
yeah, very young. He looked, in his haircut, I guess because of his hairstyle. Um, I don't know. And then seeing him get, all bloody and everything when he was dead, and then he took his helmet off and put it on top of his little grave. I don't know. It
Yeah.
just seemed, he didn't seem small. He seemed little, and in the plane he was little, or in the fighter.
They had a very big spacesuit for him to occupy. That it was like big or a big coat on a little boy.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. He looked young. I mean, he looked maybe not 12, but he did not look like he was maybe just going to college, 18 or 19 years old. That's how old he looked to me. He just had that little baby face, pouty, little eyes, just like a young kid fresh out of training,
Yeah,
That's what he looked like.
he was Lance Kerwin.
Kerwin. Why does he sound so familiar to me, or look familiar? Was he in Star Trek? One of the Star Trek movies too? He's not the kid that died in Star Trek, and
No,
he
you're thinking
a little
of Meredith, David Meredith, I think, or
yeah, but doesn't he resemble him a little to
he
you?
does. He does look like the Star Trek 3 actor that
That
later
died.
was in Star Trek Next Generation, and yeah, he does have that look to him.
I can't remember, but I can't help it. I love Star Trek too, so I love all the Star Treks except for the newest stuff.
I've not watched it since Discovery.
Yeah, I
I even
haven't.
had the opportunity to watch Discovery. I had an opportunity to watch it for free, and I still said no. We're talking about Merritt Buttrick. And this guy here, he died in '89 at the
No,
age of.
that's not the one. I'll look it up real quick and see. He died in the movie. I think it was In Search for Spock.
Yeah, because he wrestles with a Klingon.
No, he got killed when the ship was attacked or something. He got blown up, and he was just a real young guy, and he looked like the other kid. I'll go on here and look real quick, but I don't want to take away from the show because of it, but it drives me nuts.
Now he reminds me of Merritt Buttrick. If you got another actor on that, go on ahead.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it real quick. But go ahead. You talked about the other stuff that was going on, but
This Lance Kerwin guy, he's in Enemy Mine for about 5 minutes, and he was in a few other films. He was in Salem's Lot. He was in Outbreak as one of the American mercenaries, which that's probably the most adult-looking role he's ever had. And then he did a bunch of stuff up until '95, and that was about it. Well, now he's in a movie called The Wind and the Reckoning, but I don't think he's in a big spot. But he's played in a lot of TV series in the '80s and early '90s,
okay.
'70s.
Yeah. He was the kid, William Shatner's son, right?
Yeah, Merritt Buttrick. Yes.
Okay. No, this was just some other actor. I should have wrote it down. I don't know why I don't ever do that.
You take more notes during movies than I've ever thought of taking. So
I
don't do that.
I drive myself nuts because something will pop in my head, and then I just, and I want to explain something, but it's hard to explain, especially if I don't have a visual aid or the name of the
The name of what?
The name of the person,
Okay.
the actor, whatever. When I don't have their name, because I see their face, but then I can't remember what their name is. It drives me crazy.
So after a brief sequence of dogfighting in outer space, which they for 1985 they made it look acceptable.
Yes.
We'll get into the special effects here in about an hour, but it is a neat little crash landing that they do for 85 if you don't have a lot of money. And it was really weird because after that he goes in search of Drac, and he bumps into his location, and he decides to set him on fire by pouring that flammable substance into the lake he's swimming in, a little pond.
Yes, I remember that.
And then he gets captured. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And that captured sequence lasts about 6 minutes. When you start seeing them start to work together, and Drac doesn't really do a whole lot of heavy labor at this point. Drac just lets him work and try to build a house, and it's like, see, he kicks it a couple times. It's solid. It falls apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. See, I thought that was funny. But the whole buildup of the whole situation between the two needing each other to survive on a big planet, basically, that part to me was part of the part that I really liked about the movie, because most people are never in that situation where you have to rely on another person unless it's in your job. You know what I mean? In your
Yes.
dealing with another person to finish a project or whatever, because your boss expects the stuff turned in. That's totally different than this aspect, but because of my imagination, I can see myself stranded on an island, or in a position where zombies are coming after me or something, and I need someone else that's totally I have nothing in common with, and I can't speak their language or whatever, but we have to use sign language or whatever to be able to communicate, to be able to survive. So I could put myself in the position that I felt they were in desperate need of each other, even though Quaid's character I thought was kind of like an ass.
Yes.
More than I thought the reptilian was. But the reptilian was trying to defend himself, especially since he was Quaid tried to burn him up. You know what I mean? So, and plus he didn't have a weapon. He didn't have a laser gun or anything like that to defend himself. So he was lucky that Drax didn't kill him. The Drax.
That was the part that blew me away.
Yeah. So, but that whole concept of that part of it was, to me, was very the building of the relationship where he could have killed him, but he didn't, knowing that he'd be alone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Fear of being alone on a planet, knowing that you're probably never going to be found, was I don't know. I thought that was to me, was believable.
We're just going through some stills here, and you can see that outfit that they put him in, makeup and prep for Lou Gossett Jr. in this movie was somewhere around 4.5 hours.
Yeah, that I thought the costume was really, really good the first time I watched it, but the second time when I watched it this time, it didn't seem. It seemed more insectoid than it did lizard-like.
It's also that's a carapace more than armor.
Yeah, it's like a protective coat to wear because he has had too many soft spots on his body or whatever, so he was wearing some type of protective armor, like a spacesuit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really good, except he looked more like an insect and less like a reptile this time when I watched it when I was younger. If that
I can
makes
see
sense.
that. I just thought his entire outfit was really good, and Dennis Quaid's costuming isn't bad either. I mean, after a few weeks, your uniform is not going to be so fresh.
Yes, for sure. Especially when you saw all the meteorites, coming down, and that would leave like a lot of dust in the atmosphere and stuff, and him being having to crawl around and do all the labor and all that kind of stuff too. So he would look more dirty and disheveled, I think, too, as a prisoner.
Yeah, I can see that.
And him getting hairy and stuff, as time went on, because Drac definitely didn't have to shave or anything. I can't remember what his name was. Um, I'm just
What?
reading the chat.
Oh, I haven't been reading chat. My bad.
It's all right. I haven't been able to do that. I'm not very good. I can't read and speak at the same time. Sorry.
You're good.
I'm getting better for sure.
And about the midway point in this movie, Drax lets him know that he's pregnant. They're stuck on his planet still. Their life hasn't changed much. I don't think he's using the Jello pods anymore, is he?
I don't think so, because by
They're-
this time, remember, he had fell into that sand trap with that creature that we saw earlier eat one of those turtle-like things. It looks like a giant amoeba or something with a shell on it. And that's when he realizes that those turtle shells are really, really strong and that they could use it to make a shelter with. And that did really good until it got hit by that meteor, another meteor shower that took it out and blew it up or whatever. And then remember, because it caught on fire, so it blew up and burned up. So they had to find a cave, and that's when they ended up going to the cave. And then when he was going to go out and looking around, that's when Drac knew that he was pregnant, and that their life they don't live very long after they have their babies, I guess, and that something was wrong with him, and that he wasn't going to live. So that's when he makes the deal with Dennis or Davidge to take his son or his child, I guess you call it a son or a girl, because they're like hermaphrodites or something, and take it to his planet to be accepted into his tribe for him. So that was like a big step for him to do that, since they are at war, with each other. And we know that they were in a battle before they both crashed. So it hadn't been that long that more than likely that their planets were still fighting each other. So that if he took a baby Drac back with him, they're going to look at him like, what are you, crazy? Why you have a Drac? So, but, when you help take care of a child and raise it, even though it looks different and it's a different race than you, different, not even human, it's from another planet, that it's going to be hard to take that child back home with you, because people aren't going to.
If you guys like this movie, you want to follow this guy here, Wolfgang Petersen. He doesn't do much anymore, but his resume is worth watching.
Yeah, someone in the chat just said something that was really, really good. That's exactly how I felt.
I was impressed with the storyline. I really was impressed with the story.
Because it is still relevant today,
Yeah, it is.
the way we look at things.
I would totally buy this. Enemy Mine and Alien Nation, sign me up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think they could make this movie again. I mean, I wouldn't want Disney to make it, but a decent company could make this movie again, and it would be relevant. I think people would go to see it. The special effects would be better as long as they kept to the story that we basically get to see in this one. I think it could be successful if you have the right people in it. Because to me, um, I just really like it. It's got a lot of the things that I look for in sci-fi. You know, for me, it
It
has.
has, it almost has a next generation feel to it.
Yes, it definitely. It reminded me a lot of uh, all the sci-fi, like the latest one I just watched with what was the name of it? Oh gosh, just some of the newest sci-fi that I've seen, and Babylon 5 a little bit.
Yes.
There's little things in it that you can tell that came after this movie that somebody watched this movie and took essence from it, you know, little tidbits
Little
from
bits.
this movie for their show. And Babylon 5 was successful. I mean, and Star Trek was successful. There was other um, aspects of it, not just uniforms, but the elements of the interaction between the characters and stuff in the movie that I thought they were able to use in other stories. And you could use this story today, I think, and make a very good movie.
Make a good layer to it.
Yeah, I think it would be very good. I mean, if you know, if you had all the different stuff, the aspects of it, because this was definitely on a limited budget.
Yeah. I'll say limited budget for certain.
And the fact that they got Louis Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid to be in it was an achievement in itself, I think, because even though the the cast was excellent, the money you could tell wasn't really there, but and that they worked really hard to try to make their characters believable, even with the limited surroundings. I guess you could say it that way. But I could tell when them two were in a scene together uh, that it was a believable scene to me, at least. Um, that I liked the characters and I liked how they played off each other. And even when the baby Drax came in, what was the baby's name? Zamis, or something like
Yeah.
that. He was adorable. Oh, I just wanted to hug him. He was so cute. He was adorable. Um, you know, like when he's counting his fingers and he says 1, 2, 3, and then David reads his or tells him, holds his hand up and he counts his fingers, and then he
Yes.
4 or 5 for himself. It was just, oh, it just pulled at my heartstrings because it was so cute. Just adored him. I still think he's adorable. I don't know what he looks like now as a grown up, but I don't even think I'd recognize him since the makeup and stuff on him was so much better to me, more realistic as a character than it was on Louis Gossett. Was it for
I
you?
would agree with that.
You would agree with that or not?
I would agree with that.
Oh, the actor's name. I'm gonna send it to you. The other kid that I found from Star Trek. I'm gonna send it to you in your darn it, in your Discord. I'll send it to you on that so you can see what I was talking about because his name is Ike Eisman or something like that. Yeah, and he was in a he was like a young ensign or something that died in the second one, the Wrath of Khan. He was in the Wrath
Okay.
of Khan. But he's the one that when I saw his co-pilot, I was thinking about him from the Star Trek movie, the youngness of. how young he looked, because Scotty got real upset over one of Scotty's specialist or new up and coming.
Scotty's nephew.
Yeah, he's in The Wrath of Khan. His name is Ike. What was his name again? I just said it. His name is Ike Eisman. Eisenmann. That was the actor's name in The Wrath of Khan. Are you on IMDb?
I am. I'm looking for the guy right now.
Oh, okay.
Ike Eisman, you said?
Yes. And I've seen him in a couple things too. So he wasn't a huge actor or anything. It starts with an E. His last name. E-I-S.
Looking. Sorry.
All right.
Trying to remember who Richard Marcus was. I remember, that guy.
Yeah, the two thugs that took the little kid.
Yes.
I was really happy when they met their maker. They played good butt heads, a-holes. But that's what their job was, anyways, to basically mine with slaves and stuff.
All right. So this movie is. Mark is like, I don't think Dennis Quaid ages well. Maybe not. LDG, how you doing? Okay. Didn't mean to drop any viewers there with my just looking at IMDb on phone and on computer.
Sorry.
All right. No, my bad. The rabbit hole. About maybe 2/3 of the movie through, after he's teaching young Drax the ways of Drax Fu and the various things that Drax wanted his son to learn, they start seeing activity on the planet. Hey, Leah Rose. They start seeing activity on this planet, and it's pretty interesting because it turns into a different type of movie at that point.
Yeah.
When they find who's there, it's really not good.
Well,
Go
he's
ahead.
excited. Remember when he found that Pepsi can?
Yes.
He knew it was humans. Okay. So he was excited that he was going to be rescued. But then when he got closer to it, he realized it was a mining thing and they were using Drax slaves to mine. That's when he started fearing for his child. Basically, it's not his child, but his adopted child, Zamis, to not be captured and taken by these people, especially since he had no weapons to defend him from these
Correct.
slavers. So that's when the whole aspect changed, because now he was looking at him as his protector of this young boy to keep him from being taken by these bad guys. So that's when the whole thing was different.
The introduction of Byron James in this movie, when I watched it again, I forgot he was in it, and I'm a big Byron James fan. From Southern Comfort to Blade Runner to Tango and Cash, this guy pretty much is identifiable. As soon as you see him in a movie, it's like, oh, he's not going to last long.
Yeah.
But he really lights up the screen with it, I think. And he does a good job of playing a bad guy. That's what he was known for back in the 80s. And he's the main one that is fighting against these two. For those of you who don't know, I'll clue you in here in just a second. You'll understand. Brian James. That guy.
Oh yeah, he always plays a bad guy.
Always does.
Yeah, but he was good at it, so I could see why they always picked him for that.
I forgot he was in Galactica. And he looks almost just like that in Southern Comfort, too. But this guy pops up, and he's just bad news.
And he's a pretty big guy too. So
He is. He's a towering presence, like 6'3" or 6'5".
yeah, he's a huge guy.
He
So
played
he's
Leon.
got a menacing look to him just from looking at him. You don't even have to talk to him. You can look at him and be threatened and feel threatened.
Yeah. It's sad that he died at 53 or 54. He was a young man. Forgot he was in Nemesis, too. We'll have to do that movie one of these days.
Okay.
I like sci-fi. You're not
Yeah.
going to get me upset by saying, Bruce, I'm going to have you watch sci-fi movies. Okay.
Yeah, I really like sci-fi too. That's one of my favorites. Magical, mystical, dragon, all that. Anything that has to do with any of that stuff.
Okay, now I see Ike Eisman. He's in Star Trek II, Race to Witch Mountain. He's a sheriff. Oh wow, in the new one.
But what he looked like in Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, and the kid that was the co-pilot, they look like young boys. Like teenage boys, 18 or 19 old. That's what the first thing I thought of when I saw how young he was, and it reminded me. I was like, God, he was so young. He didn't look old enough to be a co-pilot. I mean, Dennis Quaid looked young, but he looked like a man. Looked like
Yeah.
They probably had a family at home or whatever. He just looked like he was a pilot. He could be a pilot, but that kid looked like a kid to me. That's all I was trying to explain is how young he looked to me.
Yeah. He's looking old. He's had some facial surgery. He was in a Dog's Journey, and I realized he got old then.
Yeah, I didn't see that movie. But what did this look bad? Because his son is now starring in his own show, The Boys. Him and Meg Ryan and he looks a lot like that and his mom to me.
So there's a bit of a fight, and then Dennis Quaid gets wounded really badly, and he ends up back on his little space station where he was from at the start of the film.
Well, he's trying to stop his son from being taken by those men.
Yep.
To be a slave, and when he shoots one of them, and then the Zammies runs between his dad and Dennis Quaid's character, David, and the other. They had a name for them, but I can't remember what they were calling them. The slave traders or whatever gets in front of him, and so he can't shoot, and that's when he gets vulnerable and he gets shot by the slave trader.
Yeah.
So Timmy is taken after that, and thinking his dad's been killed because he rolls down into that thing, almost into that lava stuff that's coming up. So he's left for dead basically.
And that's kind of interesting because he rolled down there, and that will play a part later in this show.
Yeah.
So once he rolls down there, doesn't fall in the lava. He goes back to base, and they're giving everybody their funeral according to their religion.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that was kind of cool because you see the space station, and like there's a reef that goes jetting out into space along with like a plastic bag.
Mm-hmm.
And there's your bodies. Could you
Space
imagine being behind the space? You're behind the space station, driving your little ship, and all of a sudden, all these bodies hit your windshield.
Yeah, because when they picked him up, they thought he was dead, and they're about to flush him, basically like a giant toilet, in outer space. And he sees that around his neck, and he starts to pull on it and tries to break it off because he's going to sell it or whatever. That
Yeah.
lose. Okay, and that's when he reaches up and grabs his hand, and they realize he's alive, and then they send him right straight to the medical ship for to see if he's save his life, which it scared the shit out of that guy basically when
Yeah.
he was trying to rip that chain off his neck, and it scared him. So it saved his life though, because that's not their job, is not to rescue people. They're just scavengers, to clean up things and collect stuff and take the bodies and make sure they get buried, I guess according to the code or whatever, military code or something. And he was lucky that somebody did find him.
Yeah,
Because,
he really is.
yeah, so after he goes to the medical stuff and they find out who he is, that's when they can't believe he's still alive. He's been gone for, what was it, a year, almost
3
2
years.
Oh, 3 years. Okay. So
Oh, 3 years.
yeah, so 3 years later he's found, and everybody's just thought he died when his ship got shot, because remember when he was in that formation with those other fighter pilots, from those other things, he chased the other guy that killed his
It's
friend.
co-pilot. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, no, he shot the other guy that in the fight, that they were having a dogfight basically, and he shot his other the other ship and killed them, remember? And that's
Mhm.
why he chased him, and when he chased him, their engines were overheating, and when
That's right.
him and he crashed, he was trying to follow him, but basically his anger is what killed his co-pilot, because his
Yeah.
pilot was telling him.
That's he was too wrathful at that point.
Yeah, he was so pissed off at that guy taking out his other friend from the other ship, the other fighter ship. So he went chasing him, and he went off the grid, away from where everyone else was at, over an uncharted planet, basically, that that he didn't know anything about. And his co-pilot was telling him the engines are overheating. Okay.
Yeah.
But he was pissed off and was letting his ego or whatever. That's why I was saying a little bit of his attitude. He had a really bad attitude. He was like, he had a chip on his shoulder or whatever. And the chip on his shoulder is what got his co-pilot killed, basically, and almost him when they crashed. So then he hunted down the Drac, wanting to kill him because he blamed him for the problems that he was having. And so basically, he learned a lesson in humility, basically, because now he was totally dependent on this Drac that he tried to kill, because he blamed him for killing the other pilot, which he did, but they were at war, and he was going to kill him just like he was going to kill. So to me, that's part of the story that made it interesting and drew me in, because they became totally reliant on each other for survival. And then he instead of him dying and being alone, he was left with a very baby, newborn baby Drac to take care of. He didn't even know how to feed it. Remember, and he was trying to find stuff, and the baby kept spitting it out. And
Yep.
then he put it in his mouth and he chewed it up. He spit it out and fed it to the baby, and the baby ate it. Okay. So it was a learning experience for him. And because he was lonely and all alone, he became attached to the baby, and took care of it and raised him. And he kept making clothes for him because he was growing so quickly, because they grow differently than humans. So that whole thing, and then the cute little smile and the adorable little face on the young Drac boy as he's growing, Zamis, or however you pronounce it, because that was the name he'd already chosen for him before he died, Louis Gossett's character. So I just really was drawn in, and I really, really liked that whole aspect of how the interaction between the characters and the growth of the arc of the character growing together, which was making it really, really good. So I just liked it. And then the way that he's found, and the way that he's saved, and then gets a chance to go back and save the kid. See, all of that was really, really good. So it was almost like a hero type movie too, in the storyline. to me. That's how I looked at it, and that's one of the reasons why I liked it. And I really think that it would be a feel-good movie for a family to go see and see that even a person that's got a chip on their shoulder and thinks they don't need anyone, basically, to be successful and be able to do things for themselves, can end up relying on others to survive. You know what I mean? And then gets softened up by taking care of the alien baby and raising it as his own. It softened his heart, made him realize that he could love someone. You know what I mean? So that's me seeing the romance and the heartfelt part of a sci-fi movie that someone else probably wouldn't even notice, but I can't help it.
I tried to watch this movie 2 times in the past week, actually yesterday, and I watched it all the way through 1.5 times. It's not a bad film, and the story to it is really good. The message of, you're gonna have differences with people, but if you're in a situation where you've got to rely on somebody, you better learn how to trust real fast. And I like that message. I really did. Travis is saying that there's a movie with Toshihiro Mifune and Lee Marvin on an island called Hell in the Pacific, and it's a lot like this. I was not aware of that.
I liked Marvin. My mom loved him.
Lee Marvin?
Yeah, she loved his movies.
I was a big fan of his, even in the Canon Films era.
The first movie I ever saw with Lee Marvin in it was Paint Your Wagon, and it was on a VHS tape my mom had. And when I saw it, it said it was a musical, and then I said, Clint Eastwood's in a musical? So I had to watch it, and that's why I watched it, and I was like, that was really good. And
Paint Your Wagon was a great movie.
So that was a really good movie. That's the kind of movies that I don't think they'll ever make anymore. They just don't make movies like that. Even though it was a musical, it was still very macho, I thought.
Yeah.
I just don't think they'll make that stuff anymore. But I could definitely see this being remade.
I could see them redoing this and ruining this movie.
Well, yeah, ruining it. But if the right people got this movie, I think it could be really good for a whole new generation of people. They haven't even seen this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is it? Been out for 35 years or something? 30 years or something?
36.
36.
Almost 37 years.
Impossible, but I guess it is. But it was good. And yeah, I'm going to have to look up Dennis Quaid and see what he looks like now. Because Huey, the character Huey on The Boys, and realizing that's his son, I was like, wow. It's just, amazing. And Meg Ryan, didn't she end up with John Cougar Mellencamp or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But yeah, I thought the movie was really good. Really good after he was able to go try to find what happened to Zammies and save him.
Yeah, nowadays, that guy, his name is Bumper Robinson. Bumper Robinson. And he voiced Damas from Jack 3, Cyborg from Justice League Doom, and Dwight Conrad in Futurama, Clarence in The So Fine, Bumblebee and Blitzwing from the Transformers animated TV show, Falcon from Avengers Assemble, and Chipmunks from Brother Bear.
I love Futurama. That's a freaking awesome show. I love that show. I never missed an episode. Did you ever watch that?
What, Baki Mama? No.
Oh, Futurama.
Oh, Futurama? Yes, I've seen that a few times.
Oh.
My friends made me watch it when they realized I'd never seen it before, and I actually value that show. That's really a great show.
I just love it. I just love every character on it. I love The whole premise of the story, it was very adult oriented. You know, one of my very favorite episodes was the one where they go to the Zomian planet. They crash on it.
Yes.
Death by Snoo Snoo. God, that's so classic. It's so funny, and every man's dream, to die that way. But it was good. But yeah, you get everything to me in this movie. You get, the man that's stuck on himself and thinks his shit don't stink, and then he gets knocked down a few notches when he realizes he kills his co-pilot because of his anger, making the ship blow up. Crashes and he gets treated like a dog poop because now he's a slave for this alien race, and he's having to find food and build shelter. Basically make fires and do whatever this guy says because um, that's his only means basically to survive on the planet until he can figure out a way to get away. But during that time, they kind of like build up a friendship. They learn each other's language and they learn their own language, between the two. And then when he dies, he's left with the baby to take care of. So he builds a rapport with the baby and raises it. And then it's kidnapped and he's left for dead. He gets found and he's by a miracle and saved. And then he's able to recoup and then get them to give him a ship to go back and find the kid. So I just think it has a little of everything in it. It's action, um, friendship building, action with the pilots and shooting, and I don't know. I just thought it had a lot of stuff to offer in the movie to overall for entertainment purposes. It was I thought it was very entertaining.
It is it actually, if it had a better budget, I think it would have actually been a crowd pleaser. But this movie had a lot of money in it. There was a chunk of money in this film.
I mean, how much money do you think they spent on it?
Let me find it here.
Because to me, the sets and stuff looked low budget. I mean, I might have been wrong.
It looked like their 1960s Star Trek.
Yeah, it looked like what you'd see in the original Star Trek series. Very low budget. To me, I mean, that's like B-rate or whatever you want to call it. But that's what it looked like to me. But I might be wrong. So
the original budget of this movie was $17 million. That's when Richard Lon Crane was the director. The production of it was being taken care of in Iceland. The moment that Wolfgang Petersen got a hold of this movie, they took everything to Germany. Everything to Germany. To Munich. And Wolfgang was there, and the movie ballooned over to $40 million. It made $24 million in its initial run, but it's made some money back on purchases of the film and the rental market back in 1987.
mm-hmm.
Now, the novel of the film by Barry B. Longyear and David Gerald, the empty soft drink can was not Pepsi, it was Coca-Cola.
Oh, it was?
Yep. Which I thought that was kind of funny. The majority of this takes place in West Germany, because remember, Iron Curtain didn't come down until 88, 89.
Yeah.
And it had the original recording of the score from Maurice Jarre, which was recorded in Munich. Wolfgang Petersen, I gotta love the guy. Like, he gets a hold of a movie and he's like, I know what this movie needs. It needs to be made in Germany. And he takes it straight to the east, right away, out of Ireland. Nope, no good over there. He takes it right over into his home country, hands it to one of his best friends that does musical compositions, and he's like, this musical composition is actually pretty good. Wolfgang, you can use this. And Wolfgang argued with him for a while, but they finally did use a lot of that score. But the sets, everything was shot in Germany after that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because Wolfgang he knew the movie had a low budget. Like 24 million was the original budget.
Is that a lot of money back in the 80s?
Yeah, it was still a lot of money. $24 million is like 1.5 times what I believe Star Wars A New Hope had.
Oh, okay.
It was like 16 million for that. It wasn't much. $24 million also is the budget for 2005 Serenity movie, which is the sequel to the Firefly TV show.
Yeah.
And right here, yes, it plays like a 70s pulp sci-fi paperback film. Yes.
Oh, Travis said that.
We got some serious fans of this movie in here.
Well, good. But I do. I really just Sammy so cute. Oh, yeah. I love that line. That's true.
The spirit is willing, but the flesh is spongy and bruised.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I want to die. Send me to planet Amazonia.
Because they had him to the wall and they're punching him right in the crotch. God, that show is genius. We can do a show and watch every episode of that. Start from the beginning. I laughed every episode. God, they were geniuses. Having heads in jars and everything they did was just hilarious.
Now, on Mondays, before my show,
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody's got things to do, but there's this guy I know named Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective.
Mm-hmm.
That's his channel right there. This man he's a mutant. He works hard at YouTube. He's amazing. And he goes into 80s toys, like Generation X toys, the kids, the Kenner, the Hasbro, the Mattel stuff. He's into that. And he talks about this stuff religiously. And I discovered Tommy about a year ago when he was talking about pre G1 Transformers Diachron model kits that were being shipped over from Japan because Tonka got the drop on us with GoBots. So he does this, and he has a really great channel. He gets a lot of he gets a lot of views. If you like that sort of thing, you should listen to what he has to say. You should listen to his panelists. But I'm shouting him out because I want to see this guy seriously get some good traction and get up in that monetization because he's fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah, and he's a great guy.
Yes.
So,
He hangs out in the periphery of the fellowship that I'm usually in, like, Drew and Culture Casino. I don't want to say I'm big like either of those guys. I'm not big. But guys like Drew and Wes Moody, I look up to those guys because they have a lot of good content. And Tommy has great content. He helps you on the escapism side. Although if you listen, if people give him too much time, he starts talking about how bad the new stuff is with all the wokeism shit. And that's like everybody else because I as much as I hate repeating things.
I like people that are forward and tell what they're feeling. They share their feelings. They're not afraid to be themselves. That's one of the things that attract me to some of these channels is that comes across in the way the chat, and they come across making their live streams and things. That's what I'm attracted to: the people being themselves and not afraid to be themselves. And say it how it is.
Cylon fighter. Cylon, my bad. It's not a cyclone, it's Cylons, my bad. But yeah, check out Tommy. He puts on a hell of a stream about 5 p.m. CST, maybe 3 p.m. Pacific, and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The man is a machine, and he has a really good outro now. He does a riff on the old, not a riff, but he does a parody song of New World Order. But because he's got guinea pigs,
Uh-huh.
it's themed around guinea pigs. It's so cute. It's great. But yeah, I was listening to this guy doing show prep tonight. The movie kind of gets into this mindset where like they don't want him. They don't want. Excuse me. They really have a hard time after they rescue him, trying to press into Daveridge. Listen, you need to stay here on the space station. You need to stay here, and they kind of do a 2 minutes. Oh, you shouldn't go out there. But then he escapes. He goes back to the planet. And he gets in a firefight with the scrappers, with the miners, and then he rescues his nephew.
He basically frees all the.
Yeah, and they recognize that. The other Dracs are like, your uncle. Because when he's walking among them, he's starting to recite the lineage of nephew. And they're like, your uncle, we've heard of you. And he finally finds the little boy, gets into a blaster fight with Byron James's character, Stubbs.
Mm-hmm.
And once he gets shot into the red liquid which catches fire, once he gets shot into that, the movie basically goes to the surface of the Drac homeworld where you have an episode 4 style celebration, but you don't really have a close-in shot. You just see all the bodies amassed there at the water's edge.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, you've done us some good. Thank you. And then the movie basically ends. It doesn't really go into much else. It kind of gives you this feeling that the war will not continue as hardy as it was up until this point.
Well,
go ahead.
The end of the movie with Davidge, when he takes Zammies back to his home planet, and he walks up there and he gives he recites the lineage. And then Zamit's, how do you say his name?
Zamis, I guess.
Yeah, Zamis is the last name added to the lineage. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
At the closing part of the movie is when you see Zamis bring his own child before the Holy Council, and then his name of Willis Davidge is added to the line because he named his son after his dad, his adoptive dad that took care of him and brought him back to his homeworld. So that to me, it was a very, I don't know, I just thought it was a very moving part. Because I remember the first time I watched this movie, I cried when the little Drac realized he was never going to look like his dad, because he only had 3 fingers. And when he sees himself in that puddle of water, he realizes that he thinks he's ugly,
Yeah, he has that ugly duckling syndrome, and
he's ashamed of himself basically until when he's kidnapped and he's taken to be with all these other Dracs, and he realizes that these guys are bad guys and that they're slaves basically. But he gets to see other Dracs, what he's going to look like as he's grown, that kind of thing. So I don't know. To me, it touched lots of emotional levels. Even though it's action packed and there's so much information in there, because when you sit back and I was surprised because I had to keep pausing because I'm like, I don't remember this, like the littler details of things. Because I guess when you're younger, you seek out certain things in a movie, and don't really pay attention to the small details. So this time when I watched it, I really tried to pay attention to as much of what was going on in between the lines or whatever. And I thought it was really good. I really liked the ending when he named his own child Willis after Dandridge. So I thought that was really, or Davidge or whatever his name was. So I thought that was really good. So it basically rounded off the whole thing it like that his dad didn't die in vain when he died on that planet after he gave him birth. And when Davidge ripped open his stomach to take the baby out, so he basically saved the child and raised the child, and the child ended up being good, and he was the new link and for the two planets to start working together to try to stop their war. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was like a new light because Davidge had saved all them people or all the Dracs from the slave traders, and he had brought the child back, and then the Zammies is sharing his what happened to him that he remembered and how Davidge had taken care of him and came back and saved him. So he was like a hero to him too, and not just, but he was his dad or his uncle. Remember, he called him uncle.
Uncle, yes.
Yeah, he called him uncle, and but basically, he's his dad because he can be your uncle, but the person that teaches you and raises you, to be a good human, a good person, a good man, or a good woman. The person who teaches you those life skills is your parent, whether it's your uncle, your grandmother, or your aunt. They're basically your parent because they're the one teaching you the skills you need to go on and do things for yourself. But I like the ending. I really like that part.
I thought it had a lot of merit. This movie would have benefited from a well spent budget.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they spent the money that well. I think the money in this movie was thrown around haphazardly, and they were trying to just get rid of the version that they had recorded before. And
it says in here about the production. It says the film began shooting in April of 1984 with Richard Loncraine. Yeah, as a director, in the budget of $18 million. But it says after 3 weeks of shooting in Iceland and Budapest, the producers became concerned about a mixture of budget overruns and the creative differences and poor quality and stuff like that. So they were arguing and butting heads over everything. So you didn't have like symmetry going on.
I just want to know. We've discussed the movie and an hour's passed, so I kind of want to know who's the person at the movie house that said, I can't stand this Lundgren guy. Who do we have in the director's stables that we could have to direct this movie? I need somebody with a big mortgage, somebody who just bought a castle or a brew house, somebody with a lot of debt. This movie needs to be produced, and I need a director. And who's the one that came out and said, hey, the guy that directed that wonderful movie, Das Boot? Yeah, we'll get Wolfgang Petersen. I can't believe that Wolfgang Petersen, 4 years before, did Das Boot, which is one of my favorite naval movies of all time. It's not even a movie from the quote-unquote the right side. It's from the side of the Germans during World War II. And they leave Brest, France, where I've been before, and I've walked in the subpens of Brest, France, and I've seen the 40-foot diameter crater in the roof of a 4-foot concrete thick roof with twisted rebar as we beat the hell out of the subpens that the Germans were using. I've been there, so I can say that, but I just want to know who the guy was at the studios. It said, we just need.
It says here. It says at the same time, Fox changed its upper management, and new chairman Barry Diller and head of production Lawrence Gordon decided to move ahead with a new director. The studio had faith in the story and actors involved, and asked Wolfgang Petersen to take over. So that's who it is. Did it? Barry Diller and Lawrence Gordon.
Okay. Because I didn't read that part, or I didn't see that part. But I was just kind of wondering, because if you ever saw Das Boot, it's a really good movie, but it's almost it's almost Shakespearean for war film. It is that good. And anybody who likes a good war movie should probably see Das Boot. But that is a film that I can't imagine him going from that to this, because Das Boot looks so authentic and it's so well done. They filmed it in a real sub, of course. So they have authentic locations and they've got good special effects and they have an adequate use of miniatures and nothing looks tacked on. But this movie, actually, I believe Lucasfilm was responsible for a lot of the space dogfight and shipyard scenes from the space station. And it's like, I don't know who it was that did the special effects for this, but it wasn't the A team at Lucasfilm Ranch.
No, it seemed a lot of it seemed to me in areas it seemed rushed.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed to me. And
And,
that
and
whenever you're hurrying to do something, it always suffers. You know what I mean? But it says in here on this website I'm on, it says that they were that Peterson said they made it sound as if they were having a bad dream. He says, I explained that I'm not the kind of director who could jump on a plane and finish someone else's work. However, Peterson changed his mind when he read the script. He said, I'm not a fan of Star Wars science fiction. I thought I would hate Enemy Mine, but after reading the script, I realized that there was more going on than just a shoot 'em up in outer space.
yeah.
And I really was very much impressed with the script, but I had to do much. And that's when they offered to stop production until I was done with the never ending story. I love that movie.
Yeah, another movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's directed so many good films.
Yeah, he's done some really good stuff. But it said that he did not like any of the footage that the other guy had already shot. He
No.
said all the magic was taken out of it. What he saw in the script. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what's so important to every writer is that when you have a story in your head and you're wanting to make it come to life on the big screen, and you see it in your mind playing day after day after day, and you put it down on the paper and you try to make it every detail, as much detail on the paper as you can in a limited amount of pages, because you're only allowed up to a certain amount of pages, because each page is so many minutes, depending on the dialogue and the action or whatever is that's on each page. So when you get someone that can read it and they're talk to you and they're talking to the writer about the story, and the writer goes, oh, they see my vision, you feel that connection, then it's more than likely going to be good. It's going to be better than what most people end up getting, because what you end up getting is you get these people in these big offices that are told by someone, oh, this story's got this in it, it's got that, and so wants to be in it. So they go, okay, do it. They're not involved in that part, the creative part of it, who they're going to get, what's going to happen. They pass it on to the next guy, and the next guy is the one that's got to find this person or that person in that location and whatever. And it gets thrown together. But when you have a very passionate director that reads a script and wants to see it to come to life, he starts making personal phone calls to people he knows, because he knows what he wants. He knows what his vision is. And when you have that kind of, like, you can listen when he said he read this script and that he loved it, it wasn't what he thought it was going to be when he said, oh, I don't want to do that. It's a freaking dumb outer space Star Wars crap. He's not interested in, right? Just like Never Ending Story. I mean, it had lots of depth in it, the character arcs, there's lots of layers to it. And that was the same thing in this movie. And they'd already spent $9 million of their budget when he got it handed to him. So basically he had to use less than he was basically using 10 million, because it was $19 million budget and they'd already spent $9 million. That means, and he said that they refilmed everything because he hated everything the other guy had already done, because he said there was no magic in it. So
it's funny because I just watched Never Ending Story like 2 years ago with my little cousin Owen.
In that movie.
Say again?
That was a really good movie.
It was a great movie, but you know what happened at the age of 45 for Bruce when the horse died?
Oh,
I
what?
cried. I
Oh,
cried. I still cry at the age of 45 years when that stupid horse dies in the movie. Like,
yeah.
ah,
I had my horse. My horse got hit by a train, and it was sad. So anytime a horse dies in a movie or whatever, I still cry. So, but I'm a girl, so I guess I can get away with more of it, huh? But you shouldn't feel sad about that. There's nothing wrong with a man that has feelings about something like that, because that's I think that's part of the problem with men is that men aren't allowed to just be themselves, and
there,
they're afraid they'll be judged if they I mean, you love your mom and you love your dad, and if they die and you're not allowed to cry because of it, that's dumb. I don't
that's
know where
stupid.
that's ridiculous. So
There was a game that came out on PlayStation 2 years ago called Shadow of the Colossus, and I played it for about 15 hours. A lot of that game is spent on horseback, and the horse is really cool. So I'm having fun time. And at the very end of the game, you have to make this jump, and you lose the horse. The horse can't make the jump, but he vaults you over his shoulder and mane, and you're there trying to tug on him, like, "Come on, get up!" And then he just falls. The rocks fall, and he goes away, and you're there on the cliffside. And I cried at that moment too. So I mean, I do like animals, not in a Tijuana donkey show sort of way, but I do like animals, and I think it's kind of important that what you just said there. A lot of people need to recognize it. It's you do need to see, you do need to enjoy the fact that we have good bonds with animals, and it's okay to cry when we lose them.
yeah,
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I know a lot of people who have pet dogs that they had 15 years. How
Oh,
do you just say, oh well, when when you had a friend that's been by your side through thick and thin for 15 years and they die,
there's
not
no oh well.
things. Yeah, that's
There's
stupid.
I'm calling into work to call off sick.
I don't care if it's a man or a woman or who they are. Anyone that says that that's stupid for you to be upset about something dying that you've spent that much time with, they've never loved anything. I mean, there's just no way that you can love anything and not have feelings when it's gone. That's just mean and dumb. And I feel sorry
So
because that means they have a hole in their soul or something. I'm not trying to be mean or anything either when I say that, but that's how I really feel.
Darren
I'm
P, I'm in San Antonio. I'm in San Antonio, and it's the hot part of Texas. Still 90. It just now dropped to 89 degrees. It's 45 after 8.
What was your humidity level today?
It felt like about 80, but it was probably closer to 60.
Yeah, ours was it wasn't late in the day, like about 6:30. Ours was still at 59%, and it was 92, and it was 110 up to 110 heat index. So it was hot.
Yeah, it gets hot over here. My friend Draconic Cherub One that just jumped in chat. He used to live here. The allergies and job market that his wife is involved with pulled him away, sadly. So he's over in the west or the west side of West Virginia, and he enjoys it over there. Not really west side. West Virginia is a small state. You can drive through it at speed, not during winter, but you can drive through there at speed during the good months. Um,
Yeah.
Darren P says, I bawled my eyes out when my cat died in November. That little guy got me through some rough times in the 11 years I knew him. And next thing, they're family. At a certain point, the animal goes from being a cute animal to now it's a piece of my lap. When I sit down, it jumps in my lap. It becomes part of my being. And a lot of people don't quite understand that.
I remember how it broke my heart when the first time I saw my dad cry, um, when his older brother died. I saw him at his mother's service and I saw him at his dad's service, and I never really saw a tear come out. I just saw him, blow his nose and things like that. And my mom was upset. Everybody was upset and sad. But when my dad found out, and he was sitting in this recliner when he found out his brother died from cancer, I just remember my dad crying, and it was just broke my heart because he was the strongest person I've ever seen in my life, you know. And he's breaking down, I don't know. It just made me see the human side of my dad, and it took, you know, I don't know. It was God. I was already married and had kids, 2 kids when I saw my dad do that. But it brought me closer to my dad because it made me realize that he was vulnerable. You know, that he had 5 daughters and he was always so macho about everything. You know, having to go outside, go to the bathroom because he could never get in there because we had one bathroom. He had 5 girls, so it's like it was nice though to see that. And all the guys I dated and everything, I liked a guy that had a vulnerable side, you know, the guy that wasn't afraid to be himself with me, you know. If he got pissed off and he's yelling and throwing stuff, well, you know, I want to know why he's pissed off and why he's throwing stuff, but I didn't get mad at him because he was letting it out, you know what I mean? And I think that's part of the problem with most people is that people just hold everything in until they have a mental breakdown. And it breaks a lot of relationships up because they can't share their feelings. They're afraid to be themselves, which I just wish more people could do. I think we'd be a lot happier. But that's what I liked about this movie the most is the fact that you saw a character arc go from an a-hole that was self-centered and selfish and only cared about himself until bad enough to where he got his co-pilot killed, basically, because that's how I looked at it. You made it sound differently, but that's how I looked at it, to a man that was willing to sacrifice himself for an alien kid. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just thought that was a very good character arc, and you don't see that a lot anymore in good movies. You know, well, you see that in good movies. You don't see it in most of the crap movies that come out. There's no substance. You know, something to take back with you when you go home. Do you think about it later and say, "Man, that was really good," or, you know, that kind of stuff.
And it really spoke to me on that level whenever he's there and he's in the scrappers mining camp area, just going at it, trying to find this kid, and he's completely disregarding any aspect of his own safety.
Mm-hmm. Just like
And
a parent, just like I said, a parent
yeah,
would do that.
he really did that part well. I love that part of the movie because you actually see him and he's fighting for something. He's not there just being a dickhead. He's there, he's focused, and he knows what he has to do. And that was a fun part of the movie. I know I probably shouldn't have been so happy to see that ending come up, but kind of the magic there, that was the magical part of the film for me, where I forgot to look at the cheapness of the sets, and I didn't look at the bad special effects from the shotgun blasts or whatever they're firing at each other. I thought that was probably where the magic was, and that was probably where Wolfgang directed it with the express intent, like, no, you're here on a mission. You have to be moving like a man with a purpose, Dennis. And he probably pantomimed it 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the part of the movie that I really enjoyed. The first part of the movie, when you first see the space station, you're like, oh, they have some old model kits from the old Star Trek, the original series. That's nice. And you have to remember that this is made in '85. This is right after the big space movie boom. And the space movie boom was even worse because you have players like Disney enter it in '79 with the black hole. And if
Mm-hmm.
you've seen the black hole anytime lately, oh God, that movie looks like it's 1958 because of the special effects, because of the hairstyles, because of how everything is directed. It looks like it is a poor man's sequel to Forbidden Planet, minus the really cool robot Robbie. And you
Yeah.
get the 2 miniature robots in return. It's like I don't want these 2 robots. Give me Robbie the robot because he was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you have that, and that's a fucking Disney movie. There's only one part of that movie I watch over and over again, and that's when the Cygnus is being pulled apart by the black hole,
Uh-huh.
and that's the only part of that movie I watch. Everything else, I just disregard. Even Ernest Borgnine, my favorite actor from The Greatest Generation, he can't pull me in. I can't get into that movie like I could when I was a young kid because he was my grandfather, I guess, liked him as an actor. My grandfather's like, "Hey, you ever see this guy on TV? Just imagine that's me." And I heard that a couple times, and so that solidified. And so even Ernest Borgnine can't pull me into the black hole and enjoy that movie. Yeah, Darren P. I bought it as a DVD and a digital a few years ago, and when you watch it now, that movie's terrible. And that's kind of how Enemy Mine was the first 20 minutes for me, up until not 20 minutes, first 8 minutes until the young guy, the co-pilot, gets killed. And once the co-pilot gets killed, and Dennis Quaid realizes that you could lose your life here, you need to be, more serious about this job. That kind of motivates him. I have to forget what the young boy said. Don't call her a white balloon anymore. Because he was going to go on a date with a girl that they used to dog because she had just dropped like 20 pounds. And it's a sign of the times. But that was kind of cute and kind of funny. But I really shouldn't dog in a movie about that. That they probably meant well. But this movie here, the first time I watched it, I really was not into it when I was an adult. Like a couple days ago, I was just like, this movie. I remember this movie being a lot better than what it was.
Yeah,
And
isn't that neat though? How when you're a child and you watch something in awe of it, you know what I mean? And then
yes,
back and you wait, a long time and you watch it again, but you watch it through different eyes as a person that's got a little more wisdom under your belt and life experience, and you're like, wow, I didn't realize how bad this was.
well,
Whatever. But that's what I said. The character arcs and everything to me, I was drawn back in again, and it almost felt like I did when I first watched it, but I still had a hard time getting past the cheap part of the sets and little. I couldn't help that, because I've been awoke or whatever now to being on real sets and stuff like that and seeing how things are done. It's so it hurts me a little bit when I see a really good story brought down a few notches simply because they just didn't have the budget to make it the scenery a little better. And then I see tons of good CGI and money poured into a piece of crap movie that has no story. So, I just think it's the balance is off. And I wish that
I
they could get more money into some of these better films.
and I'm trying to analyze the start of the movie as to what pulled me out, but I think it's the little hydraulic or the little smoke trails that the ships leave whenever they're
Yeah.
banking and they're doing their stuff. Like, no, don't do that. Just somebody get an LED lamp in the engine bay or the engine portion of that ship, and just have it glow softly, and let there be a little rumble in the speakers. I don't need this thing to have smoke spitting out of it. I don't need that
I
because
mean,
that
I
pulled
thought
me
it
out.
was bad too. That whole scene, the
Yes.
fight scene when they leave this space station or whatever, and they go out to fight the Drac ships. I thought that whole thing looked like it was maybe made by a fan film or something. You know what I mean? It had that look.
Hmm.
I've been on a couple of web series that were fan made type things simply because I love certain sci-fi or whatever. But
Wait, hold on. I'm going to corner you on this question here.
not gonna tell you the name of it.
Have you been involved with the Star Trek fan film project? And if so, you must tell us because we are Trekkies and we love good Trek.
Okay, I will. I'll think about it and I'll share it with you. But yes, I have been in some some fan film. But and I helped direct some. I've done the computer voice and different things like that. So and do costumes.
Wait. How close to you how close are you to Vic Mignogna?
The name sounds familiar, but I'd have to see his face to know if I.
Hold on.
I told you I'm not really good with names. It takes me a while to remember the person. I have to see him a lot. I do a lot of hands-on, but the face, I always remember what someone looks like. If somebody came and told me that they were going to do this or that, and it was revolving around a sci-fi type show, and I could be a character or help with the script or help with props and things like that.
This guy.
I've met
From Devil right here.
Yes, I've met him.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
And that set sure looks familiar.
I'm just saying, and I really miss this guy here. He died last year, Grant Imahara.
That's sad.
No, 2 years ago. Yeah, he was only 49, and he was on some really good shows. He did visual effects for. My bad. Here. Yeah, he was on Tabletop. He was on BattleBots back in 2000.
I used to love that show.
I know. And
that's another show they could bring back and make it bigger and better than it was if they had the right people do it.
I thought he was on Mythbusters. I could have sworn Grant Imahara was involved with Mythbusters. I know he was involved with ILM.
Wasn't there a show that was kind of like Mythbusters, but it wasn't called Mythbusters?
Yeah, he was.
That's right there. Right there. You're click on that.
Yeah, he was on the show.
Yes, I thought I recognized him from being on a couple of episodes. I used to love that show. They did the
I could watch this show the rest of my life. I'd be happy. It's so fun.
Oh, and I love those two guys. They were a hoot. They were so funny. And you could tell they loved what they got to do for a living.
Yeah, that's something that.
Now, how lucky is that to get paid to do something that fun every time you go to work?
And that's the only negative I have about Enemy Mine is that there's a lack of love.
Yeah, and that's what the new director said. He said that they lost the magic when they were doing filming and stuff. They could tell. And to see the difference between Enemy Mine and the difference between Never Ending Story when it came to the special effects. So just think about how good Enemy Mine would have been if he had been involved the whole thing. See what I mean? His vision from his mind onto his screen. It would have been really good, I think.
Bear and I were on talking about the Trek Continues when Vic Mignogna popped on a chat with us.
Wow.
I fucking love Vic. He's such a good guy. There was a fucking witch hunt out there a couple years back, but he is such a good man.
There's a lot of good people out there that love what they did and loved what it was about and where it came from and where it was heading. You know what I mean? So when they see their fans, the people that are fans of the same type of thing they like or was involved in, they jump in because they want to be a part of it still. That doesn't mean they, they're people just like us and they have things they love and they have things they don't love. So I think that's great when they let themselves just,
Yeah.
It's rare because so many of them, get that that whatever you want, the corn cob up their butt, and they can't sit down with the rest of us, and
Produce great content.
yeah, they can't. Like when I got to meet Michael Chiklis, and he came and sat down with all of us and just mingled and talked about sports and uh, some politics and just different things that were going on. And he treated us just like everybody else, And but then you'd have some of the other actors that were go sent in their special little trailer or whatever. So, you find out a lot about people when you get to work with them in that aspect, because if they treat you that way, then they treat other people the same.
Well, I just got to say that I've always had a healthy respect for you. Always, when the wife started showing me your videos on TikTok or Instagram, whatever it is, it's like she's funny. She's fucking funny. And then started talking to you on that, and then just developing this friendship and having everything go well. And we're doing this video series now, which is a staple for me on my Monday nights. That I have to do this. I have to be here. And I get a chance to talk to you, and I'm loving the hell of this.
Well, I am enjoying it. I enjoy it just because I love this stuff. I really like. I just love it. I love talking about it in my personal point of view, instead of having to say it from in a way to promote someone else. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not promoting one. I'm promoting what I like and what I think is interesting, and to give my perspective on, something you think is really good, like a movie that you're interested in. So I like that. I like just get to be me, a lot of people don't get to do that. And to interact with other people that think this type of stuff is interesting too, to me, is fun. I enjoy it. So I feel special, as a human.
And it's a blast, because I've had these complaints about the early 80s and late 70s movies for a long time, and it didn't sound like something that you would hear from a guy that loved sci-fi, that had Star Wars D6 books in his pubescent years. Instead of collecting Playboy and Penthouse, I was collecting RPG books, and now I'm painting little figurines as a 40-something, and I'm happy with this. And it's just one of those really cool things where, I enjoyed the movie a lot. The movie spoke to me on a couple different levels, and it is a solid movie. But the lack of love that they show in the set design at the start of the film makes it a hard watch for a guy like myself, because there is a part of me that thought, wow, I'm glad that I didn't say to Janet, we're going to watch Silent Running, which is a great 70s movie for sci-fi, but it's a terrible movie to watch. It's got its reason it was made, and it has a good script, but when you watch it and you have any echo of a modern take on it, it doesn't survive that conversation. The movie gets butchered in your head. And that's kind of sad, because there's some good parts to it. You have the three little robots, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, which are trying to help out this poor man that's on a generational ship. He's got different biomes in it, that he has different plants growing everywhere. He's a botanist, and he's kind of going nuts. And then you find out that the ship has bombs on it. I won't tell you how the movie ends, but I kind of gave you the key points there. It's a great movie in 70s parlance and where we were as a nation and culture, but it's a hard watch because they don't have any real love towards themselves. It's kind of like, we're just here to preserve these stems and roots and plants on this ship, which, if you're okay with that, it's fine and you can function. But it was a hard watch for me when I watched it a second time here a couple of weeks ago. Now it's fun. There are some great parts to it, but it's just, it was difficult. And the set design of Enemy Mine really shoves me away very hard because I fell in love with miniatures, not with Empire Strikes Back, but with Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Blade Runner was the movie that I could not help but yeah, and the movie's a little different than that. I know, but I don't want to do the review on it while we're talking about Enemy Mine. I just there's some things about it that are there. It's a hard watch for me. I'll just say that, and I'll uh, I'll say that my movie that got me into these is Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
So then you watch a movie like Enemy Mine with $40 million thrown at it, and there's elements of Lucasfilm there trying to help you with your space epic. 9 minutes of a dogfight, and it looks really cheap.
Yeah, but wasn't the budget like 19 million, not 40 million?
By the time it was done, it was 40 million combined.
Okay. All right. That
At
makes
the start, with the initial director, 14 million.
yeah.
And then Wolfgang comes in, and between 24 and 26 million dollars gets spent on it.
Yeah. So the thing is, though, it's like I said, if we could have, or if they could have gotten Wolfgang to start off,
Yes.
I just could see that it would have been probably would have been one of those a hit. I mean, I could have been a hit movie.
Yeah. And there's
had everything when it came to the character arcs and the storyline, and the building up and everything throughout the movie to the ending of where his uncle gets to take his nephew or whatever to find out about his lineage in front of his people on his own planet and all that. So basically, I just think it would have been really, really good. And yeah, you're right. When I like I said, when I first turned the movie on and started to watch it, I was like, "What?" I was thinking it was the wrong movie because it was so not what I remembered from when I was younger. Because it didn't. It seemed fake. It just didn't.
I hate that.
I know. But that's what it was back then. I mean, I loved watching some of the old black and white Vincent Price movies and stuff because my mom loved Vincent Price, and I would watch those, and they were really bad. I mean, they were really corny, and my dad loved those old spaghetti westerns, that looked like could have been filmed in my grandpa's pasture. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
we just you had to have really good acting and things like that from movies back then because it didn't have all the stuff to fill in the gaps from the bad acting. And today you spend $100 million making something and the actors suck, and even though there's great special effects, the movie's not very good. You know what I mean? So I don't know. At least back then, they really had to be a good actor to make the movie watchable.
And it's kind of funny because I'm thinking about it like if they would have had William Shatner in this movie, it would not have been improved. It probably would have been worse.
Yeah,
because
to me,
Dennis Quaid can carry a movie.
Yeah, but to me, when I watched this movie, I really didn't know the characters or the actors that well. I mean, I hadn't really, especially not in a sci-fi type genre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was surprised at how well they worked together. Like I said, the playing off each other's character, being their character. Louis Gossett Jr. did a really good job, even though when I first watched it, he looked like a reptile to me. But when I watched it this time, he looked more like some type of insect or something. So,
yeah.
It's just different things, I guess, from my movie watching, TV shows that I've watched, like different things like that. The aspect of different things that are in my mind now you can't unwatch it. So when you're watching an old movie that you watched when you were young, and then you're older now, you're more mature, and you watch a movie, the same movie, different things jump out at you that you didn't notice when you were a kid watching it in awe of being, of being an outer space movie, or seeing an alien fighting humans, or whatever it was that drew you into it. You're seeing it differently now. You're seeing it through a set of eyes. So you're taking more different things from it and putting it together in your imagination. So I don't know. That's, to me, I still loved it. I still was drawn into the character arcs. The storyline was really good. The acting was good, even considering the whoever was in charge of props and special effects. I think they dropped the ball on the movie. And since it's so expensive, I can see why that's the one part where they couldn't really change a lot of it. I mean, you can tell there's some sets were better than the others. So I
Yes.
think that the newer sets that he helped redo when they brought in the Wolfgang, that helped. It because of their budget limitations, they weren't able to redo the whole movie basically. So they had to take what they could get from what they had, and but it was still good. I mean, I was able to get into the movie once I got past some of the corny shots, and the characters started being, working together, enveloping each other. I was able to get back into it, basically not pay that much attention to the special effects anymore. You know what I mean? Just like you were saying, it kind of faded off into the background. That wasn't as crappy as it really was. To someone like one of my, like my sisters, they're not into sci-fi. So if I got them to sit down and watch it, they would go, "This is so cheap. I can't get into it." They would never even watch the whole thing because they're not into sci-fi. But because I'm into that, I'll give it a little bit. I think you have a naked
Uh-oh.
here.
I wonder if I have a mod in here.
I don't know. I wasn't looking, but you got some. It says delete Tinder. We have sex cheaper.
I didn't. I never have. I've never used Tinder for sex. I always use it for comedy. I probably shouldn't, but
Never used Tinder, but I know people who have, and I'm like, I can't believe you'll bring a total stranger to your house. Could be an axe murderer, or who knows, and rob you blind or something. I would never do that. There's just, I don't know how people trust these people. They don't know. I mean, I wouldn't even pick up a man at a bar and take him back to my house. If I was that desperate, I'd get a hotel or a nice van or something. No way I would take him back to my home.
but that's the only real big negative for me is the opening portion of the movie when it tries to wow you with the special effects and it does not. It piddles. It kind of barely gets the package over the knuckle, and it just sinks. It makes you depressed almost when you see the special effects here, and you're like, "That's the ships. That's
Yeah.
it."
Yeah, I'm telling you, the opening part of it right there when that happened, I didn't think I was even watching the same movie. For some reason, I was like, that I don't remember it being this bad. you know, that.
Yeah.
And then once I saw the characters and stuff, then I was like, okay, well, it is. This is it. And this is and it started getting better once they crashed on the planet. Then stuff started getting a little better because I was getting back into the characters and I was starting to remember different things that were going to happen. And I was like, okay, so I can get back into it again.
And
So
it could have really been a good movie for critics and for audiences back in '85, but I think they kind of felt the same way because the movie was $40 billion and it barely made 23 million.
yeah,
So it was a commercial and a critical failure,
yeah,
and that kind of hurt it. But
yeah.
the DVD and VHS market is what kind of made this movie elevated. So
overseas, overseas aren't as critical as Americans. I think America is more critical of anything than these other people. Maybe China is a little bit more when it comes to different skin colors that are in
Yeah.
movies. But when it comes to the actual background and CGI and stuff, I think that our country is way more critical on the movies, even from other countries. Because I love foreign films. I even like, even if it doesn't have any English in it, if it has subtitles, I'll watch it. And
Wait, you'll watch a foreign film?
yeah, I love foreign movies and TV shows.
Okay.
It's actually, I said, acting can take you away from it to where you don't even notice you even have subtitles. You're reading it, but you're not realizing you're reading it because you're into the movie. You can get past all that stuff. Just like Squid Game, I watched that whole series and it was great. And a lot of my friends said they couldn't watch it because they couldn't get into the subtitles. And I'm like, oh, well, I thought it was excellent. The acting was great. Everything was great. I thought it was very well made. I think it was Korean made or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. Did you watch that series?
Not yet. I don't watch a lot of TV series on Netflix. You heard that wrong, Travis. She did not watch porn. She watched Squid Game.
He thought I was watching a porn movie?
Yeah.
Nope, sorry, not this time.
But the movie that I want you to watch, I want to watch for next week is Where Eagles Dare.
Where Eagles Dare?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to write it down so I can get into it real quick.
Yeah, Where Eagles Dare is a classic 1969 movie. '68, my bad. You've got Richard Burton, Clint Eastwood, and Mary Ure.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it before.
Okay, and then you also have Michael Hodern, Pat Wymark, Donald Houston, and Robert Beatty. I don't think there's anybody else that's really Ingrid Pitt. She's in that, but it's a fairly great World War II film. Alistair McLean did the story to it. Brian Hutton directed it. I've been getting the urge to watch this movie. Every time I sit down and do it, I don't. And I'm like, let me force it on myself. So we'll watch it for next week. Because then something will pop up. Like last night I was going to watch it. And, hey, Bruce, you want to watch Afterlife with us? Sure. Ghostbusters Afterlife was a disappointment for me.
Oh, really?
I didn't like it.
Why?
I liked it. I liked about 10 minutes of it.
What was it that you didn't like about it?
The kids.
Oh, well, I liked it.
It was cute. It was cute, but it wasn't enough for me to go gaga for. I mean, I like the fact that we're advancing the storyline a bit, and maybe the kid won't be Shadow and Son. The movie for next week is Where Eagles Dare. That's the movie. Clint Eastwood, Richard Burton. I wanted to like Afterlife. I really did, but I didn't like the little girl that she just knew how everything worked that she got her hands on. I mean, I know kids could like YouTube it or something and figure it out from there, but I didn't see them going on YouTube.
Because my niece, I have one niece, and she is almost exactly like that kid. She is such a nerd. It seemed like when she was, 3 years old, that when she would look at you and you were talking about something, that she understood everything you were saying. It's kind of creepy in a way, but she's like that. So that's why and she wears glasses and everything. So I just really, I really liked it. I thought the idea where they were out in the middle of nowhere on a farm that was falling apart. Now, the one part that I thought was kind of cheesy and stupid that I didn't like about it was the mom and the boyfriend that she ends up getting, and how
Yeah.
they like the characters that were in the dog characters from
Yes.
that part of it. I didn't like that. I thought that was too easy, cheap to cop out or whatever you want to call it. I didn't like that part of it, but the other stuff I thought was really, really good. The whole concept behind it and everything was good, and the special effects were really good. The way that they were keeping the gateway shut, all that aspect of it, I thought that was very good for a brand new version of not Star Wars, of Ghostbusters. Bringing in young with the
And that's fine that you stammered and said Star Wars, because really that's what we want. If we're gonna get if
Yep.
if we're gonna take an old series that's not been loved too well, and they would give it some good script treatment and some likable characters. The kids aren't unlikable to me. It's just that I found a lot of it so glaringly, I can't believe this is capable by these kids. Like if
the part
they, go ahead.
watched on the internet and got to see the Ghostbuster commercials and some of the things that they were doing from archives from like the internet. They
Yeah.
watched some things that they brought that in, so the kids were going, "That's your grandpa," that kind of stuff. I just thought that was really adorable. I mean, I thought that was believable to me.
Yeah, and I like that part.
Yeah, so there was some aspects that I kind of was stretching it a lot for me, but overall, I thought the movie was really good, and it was way better than the one with the women.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Left, so
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea. When people say things like there was a movie in 2016, I didn't see it or pay attention to it. It did not hit my radar.
It wasn't Ghostbusters at all. It was just it sucked, even though it had Thor in it.
That movie you guys are referring to, in Pleasant Company, we don't talk about abortions. Yeah,
I can see why you'd say that. It was
that
terrible.
movie should have never been made.
I left after like 15 minutes, so it was. I didn't even say 15 minutes, but I tried, and I just made an effort because, I try to support the movie industry, and especially something that I thought was. I just wanted to see their point of view of it. I wanted to see their version or whatever. But sometimes we just can't even take. You just can't take it. I mean, just like I was talking about that one movie with Nicolas Cage. Remember the one I was telling you about?
Willy's Wonderland.
Oh my God!
How do you not like Willy's Wonderland? It's not even a good,
terrible.
accurate portrayal of a Chuck E. Cheese.
I could not sit there and watch it. It was so freaking bad, especially because I'm a writer, right? And
Yes.
when, I have a story that I think is really good, and everyone that's read it, they've gone, "Oh, this is great. This would be really good," but can't get the right person to look at it and say, "Yeah, we want to." I've got actors that like it, and I've got a couple of other people, that do like script supervision, things like that. They're saying, "Hey, if you get this option, can you put my name out there for that part for the script supervisor?" And I go, "Yeah, I'll do that." Blah blah blah. And they've done, movies like with Halle Berry in it. So these are actual real people. But
People we recognize that you've rubbed shoulders with. I get it.
But what I'm saying is they liked it, okay? But you got to get the right person in higher up in the companies to say, "Oh yeah, we'll put money in your thing." So if I ever win the lottery or whatever, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become a producer and put the money out and get something made that I think is good. But I would like to have some say in who does what, because definitely want to have it. Even
if I ever win the lottery, Janet, you're going to come visit.
Okay, I will.
But I've got to buy a house and land first. But yeah, that's the thing, and you'll get you a horse or something. Um,
I had a horse when I was young.
I really, this movie had so many parts about it that when you're watching it, the script, you'll get lost in the script. The script is really good.
Yes.
Um, there's another movie that came out the year before this that has kind of same problem, that had horrible special effects at the time. We knew what they were. We knew they were special effects, but the script for The Last Starfighter is so strong and it's so tight, and the characters, like when I say this movie isn't loved, the first act of this movie might have been from like some small pre-script piece that Wolfgang Petersen just hated, and he's like, well, fine, we'll do the fucking space shootout bullshit, and then once you guys get done with that, then have the second unit call me and I'll come on set and I'll start directing and we can actually have some acting going on.
Yeah.
But the movie The Last Starfighter is a movie with a lot of love, and there is a lot of love to that script and that 90 or 100 minutes, however long that movie is. You can't walk away from The Last Starfighter without having a big dumb smile on your face at the end. That movie, that movie
Yeah,
does
right.
something to you to where you are just happy. And you know what I mean? Mine should make me feel the same way, but there's some things with the set design and how they treat the sets and the special effects division that, and I know Wolfgang Petersen did not bring his A game to this movie. This was helping him pay a mortgage or a castle or a beer house or whatever that man invested in. This is what he did with the money. But he did not spend it on making sure he loved the script, because there's parts of it that you get pulled out of the movie at certain parts, and the very end I should be feeling really happy because I'm watching the young boy reveal that his son's name is Davridge, and that's part of his whole name.
Yeah.
I should be feeling, I should be like tearing up and
Well,
going,
you're
I
up.
can't wait to watch this again. Go ahead.
I felt really, like I said, I felt very full of pride for how what happened to this young boy or alien or whatever you call it because of Dandridge, what he did at saving the other Drax and everything. This young boy got to grow up on this planet, basically having his uncle or his dad was a hero to them, even though he was a human. Okay,
Yep.
something that most of those people on that planet for generations never would have ever thought they'd ever say. You know what I mean? Because they were at war with the humans. So to me, it made me feel really good. I like the ending. I like the fact that because of what happened between them and his love for the young
Young
kid
boy.
raised
Yeah.
since birth, um, uh, is basically ended a war between the two planets. Okay, and
Yeah,
then
that
in
was a look, man.
negotiations to change the way things were going on between the two planets. So it had a huge effect on the two different worlds, because it brought the two races together because of the love of a son and a dad. Even though he called him uncle, it was basically his dad, because he
Yeah.
never had a dad. His dad died giving birth to him or whatever. So, see, to me, it's so funny that you hear all these things. It always ends up back in politics, but um, everyone goes on and on and on about how we don't have any diversity and that everybody hates gays and everybody hates lesbians and everybody hates, blah, blah, blah. Everybody hates everybody. But we just watched this movie and it was filled with um, everything that they say we have right now in our country, which we don't. And this is a movie portraying how two races could get along, and even though they were forced together, that they could end up becoming best friends and have lifelong memories, and then have a child that's raised by one that supposedly hates the other race. You know, they're willing to kill each other, but the diversity and everything that was in this movie that came out in the 80s, okay, so how could we be that diverse in the 80s and then have no diversity in 2022 or 2022, whatever the year it is? But you know what I mean? It's just funny how Hollywood or governments or whatever trying to force fake narratives down our throat when if you went to the movies or anything in your lifetime and you could see how it's evolved. That basically it's evolved because people like us paid to go to a movie and the movie made money. And if the movie makes money, that means it's showing what people are interested in, what's important to people. So I don't know. I don't know how we went from having so much diversity to having zero. It doesn't make any sense. We went backwards when it comes to movies.
I think you're right. We did go backwards. Not us, but I mean,
Not us.
the industry has gone backwards. They've gone batshit crazy, stupid, and they keep doubling down
Well, the
when they
thing
get proven wrong. That's
remember-
part that makes me laugh the worst. Go ahead.
it's the money. I mean, back this time when this movie was made, they had to make money or those movies didn't get made anymore. So if they made, let's say they made 10 sci-fi movies and 3 of them made really good money, well, they'll keep making sci-fi movies because every single movie isn't going to be a hit, but you have to make a certain amount of them to get a hit out of it, you see. But now they don't have to make any good movies because every time they have any problems, the government just bails it out.
Yeah.
So when you keep bailing out failing industries, which is against basically the premise of what our whole country was started on, is people making money, come to America and prosper, basically. And now we just say, oh, well, it didn't do well. Let's throw some more money from the taxpayers to Hollywood, and maybe the next time it'll be better. Basically because of this whole COVID thing, I don't know how many movie theaters we lost.
Too many.
And
Too many.
now we were forced to have to go to streaming. So I just don't see that we're going to have that many blockbusters. I mean, Maverick did really good, but just imagine how good it would have done if every single movie theater that we had 6 years ago was still open. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, because people are waiting to watch it on TV, the $10 or $20 or whatever it costs, but then you have 20 people in there watching it, so they're losing those tickets there because they're not watching it at a movie theater; they're watching it on television. So, that's sad. As someone that works in that industry, and I want to see things come to life before my eyes. Seeing a favorite book from when we were young turned into a TV series or a movie. That's what we used to think about. We were so excited. Oh, my favorite character is going to come to life on the big screen, and now we can't because now we're forced to have to watch it on TV at home. It's the whole experience of it is not there anymore. I mean, in New Orleans, you can go to the movie theater, get you a daiquiri, go to the bar, get you a drink, and sit down and watch a great movie with great, sound and everything in a very comfortable chair and enjoy yourself. Instead of having to go home and push a few buttons on your remote control and the phone's ringing or whatever else going on, and you don't get that popcorn, the smell of the popcorn and the yummy candy that you get while you're watching your movie. The whole overall aspect of entertainment
That experience
is gone. And the thought of this is sad. All the young kids that are ever going to experience that from now on because of the way things are moving. That's kind of sad. you go watch Guardians of the Galaxy and you got Star-Lord and he puts his headphones on, he puts his cassette tape in there, turns it on and he's jamming, All the kids that will never ever listen to a cassette player that are now being born around the world, that's the kind of stuff I think about when I see stuff like that. And I know that's kind of stupid or whatever, but I just feel sorry for all the people that are missing out on the wonders that we had through movies and getting to watch it at a movie theater. That's, pretty much going to be gone the next 20 years. There probably won't be any movie theaters left. Bad, isn't it, to think about it? I'm sorry. I'm
super sad.
I'm a depressing person.
No, you're good. You're really good. So I have a question. Other channel creators are out there trying to flag you down and tie you down for a time. Are you going to be moving anytime this week and being on somebody else's stream? Because I think some people in our chat would love to hear what you have to say on other topics as well.
Well, I have had a few people ask me, like, I know Drew, I'm going to be on channel tomorrow night on the panel for the United Resistance, because I really enjoy that, and that's all to do with politics and stuff,
Okay.
conspiracy theories and things like that. But I've had a couple of other channels that have asked me. King Dolphin TV keeps asking me to come back on his channel. I've been on his channel 3 or 4 times, and we talk about different things that's going on or whatever his agenda is, set up about or whatever. And then I think it's called Orange Hat Reviews or whatever. He's asked me to go on his channel, and I've had a few others. So Woke Breaker, he's asked me a few times. So I've got a lot of people interested, and I'd love to go on all of them. If it's not going to interfere with what I've already gotten set up, and if they give me a heads up on what we're going to talk about and stuff, so I don't go on there blind and not have any idea what they're going to, I mean, I heard that Tommy, was it Tommy that had the problem with maybe it wasn't Tommy. I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Channel 66. Have you heard of that channel?
Not yet, but go ahead.
Well, I think it's Channel 66, and he does stuff with Almond Fate on his channel and stuff. That's how my first live stream I ever did was on Fate's channel, and was on New Year's Eve. That was the first time I ever did a live with anyone. And but I think it was Channel 66. He was doing he lets people just come on his channel from the chat or whatever, and supposedly someone exposed themselves on the video live. So you have to be very careful about just allowing anyone to come on your channel and have some type of something ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So you know what the topic is going to be. But I would love to go on anyone's channel. If anyone asked me to be on there and they wanted to talk about something, I wouldn't mind doing it. It's fun. I enjoy it. I really have enjoyed everything I've done. But what is people wanting to see me do, or what they want me to talk about or whatever? And where would they want me to go? That's what I'm asking.
That'd be a great thing to ask, and I want to put that in my community tab. I just got the community tab today for YouTube. For some odd reason, I've got a lot of bots or people that are subscribing to me right now. I don't know why. I'm happy. I'm over 900 people within like 5 days.
How much do you have to have?
Community tab is like 700, I think.
Oh.
And it just unlocked today because YouTube is having a hard time. Like, wait, this guy's been here for 13 years. Who put him up and over that 500 mark? They're kind of going kind of slow about things, which, okay, go ahead and do that. But I got the community tab open, and first thing I did was I put up a couple stills from Enemy Mine, and I said, tonight, me and Janet are going to be discussing this movie. Come on and check us out. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be using that community tab once per day because I want to have more interactions. I want to have my friends get into it. I know these guys aren't going to watch all 3, 5, 17 hours of my channel that I do in a stream. I get it. And I don't expect you to if you've got stuff to do. That's awesome. But the community tab is kind of like a Facebook version of YouTube, and you can throw a poll out there, you can have a question, and just have people come and answer it. That I'm going to ask people like, hey, Janet was wanting to know what you guys want her to follow. So you might have some people from my channel be like, Janet, you need to play role-playing games, because there's like a ton of people that play RPGs there. But I'm going to kind of keep it pointed towards Janet wants to know what you want her to do. Do you want her to do an ASMR stream? Do you want her to get involved with a political channel and do a lot of politics talk? Do you want to see her just go to the gym and work out? Do you want to see how much Janet can you handle in your life? And I'm just going to throw it out there like that. Like, she's been on my channel every Monday night for 10 weeks. I'm very happy that I'm a good friend of yours and you make time for me for this. That's how I feel about it. Like,
I feel exactly the same way. I have a little channel.
it's going to grow.
I don't feel special in any way that way. So when I got invited by you and Drew and these other people to go on their channel, to me, I took it as a compliment. I mean, it was like, why is anyone interested in anything I have to say? And the first video I ever made, I was making them and sending them to my sisters and my friends, and they would laugh and tell me how crazy I was and that was funny or that was stupid or what. And I still made them. I still made them because I said, if it makes you laugh or makes you smile, then it was worth making it. So then my daughter said, Mom, you need to put this on TikTok. And I'm like, I can't use TikTok. It's from China. Something. But then I thought, what the heck? I'm going to do it. So I had a whole bunch of videos already on my phone. So I went ahead and started TikTok. And I'm just about to, I'm a few, like 10 away right now from 8,000 subs.
Nice.
So, which is fun, but TikTok's totally different. But then all of a sudden someone said, hey, YouTube now has the shorts. So doing shorts. And I'm like, what do you mean? So I went and looked because I'm on YouTube for a long time, but as a person in the chat, going to different channels and watching live streams and stuff. So that's totally different than what I was expecting. So I went ahead and said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and put some of my videos on YouTube and see how they do. And it's fun. It's slower, way slower than TikTok. But YouTube is I mostly have men on YouTube. And then on TikTok, I have like 80% women that follow me on TikTok. So, and my Instagram is like half and half, I guess. But it's slow too. It's not as, you know what it is. It's more family oriented. So I try to be, only my 18 and older stuff is on my YouTube channel. I don't even put that on TikTok. My stuff that uses dirty words or I tell dirty jokes or whatever. I only do that on YouTube. But, and then I've had people ask me on my Discord, you should do an OnlyFans and stuff. I've even had guys say, OnlyFans with your feet,
No.
But I'm not going to do OnlyFans. That's not for me. If people want to see that, they can go to OnlyFans and see it. Or they can get on, I see basically on Twitter and some of these other channels, you can see TNA all you want. And if that's what you want, then you're not interested in seeing me because that's not me either. I'm not going to do it. They're a dime a dozen, So if that's what they want, a cheap tart, then they can go find one. But I might act like a cheap tart, but I'm going to have my clothes on and I'll make a joke of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
I just put your channel out there. Check out Janet's spicy content, and you'll be quite happy with yourself.
18 years old if you want to see my 18 and older content. So I'm sorry, I don't want a 12 or 13-year-old hearing me say the F word or other dirty words or innuendos in my joke. Some of the jokes that I tell, things like that. It's just not proper, and I won't do that. That's just not my personality.
Well, I won't advertise your family-friendly content on Instagram then.
But it's fun. I enjoy it. Just like you do. When you make your videos and I get to tune in sometimes and you guys are all on there, your panels talking about your DD game, things like that, you can see that you're passionate about it. And to me, people in the chat can tell whether you're passionate about what you're talking about. And I think a lot of people like that because it's sincerity, And I just that's what attracts me to channels is the feeling I get when I'm watching it and what the chat's saying because I love a good interactive chat. So when I can go in half the time, I'm missing part of the show simply because I'm in the chat trying to talk to everyone. You know, that's fun. I enjoy that.
Very true. We got a kind of a celebrity over here. His name is DM James, and I'm going to put his link in the chat because I think most of the people that follow me already follow DM James, but I would like him to get to a few 100,000 more than where he's at because he's funny and he does a lot of painting streams like what I do.
Uh-huh.
And he talks a lot about games and politics. He comes at it from a similar perspective, but he's very decidedly like he's made some moral choices and stances in his life. You're not going to warble on those. So I think you'll really enjoy if you check him out. You'll really like what he has to say, and he does a good job of keeping his chat entertained. Sometimes he has people on like myself or the Cigar DM or Shadow and Sun, and he does just a fantastic job of keeping it moving. And that's something that he does. He also, in his spare time, he has an AD&D game, I believe, on Sundays that he'll probably never stream that, but he loves the gaming. The gaming is fantastic.
Yeah.
Crap! It's after two hours. Janet, JPM James says I am a meat popsicle.
Dude, what? I missed it. What'd you say? My phone was talking.
What happened, Darren P? Did you click? DM James says that.
He
Darren
says
P.
meat popsicle.
Yeah, he's a meat popsicle. Darren P, go ahead and click back on her again. YouTube's trying to regulate things. I don't know why.
I don't know what you. I don't understand.
People will get unsubscribed from me from time to time, and I just subscribed to Bruce, and then I cleared the screen and it unsubscribed me, so I had to subscribe back again. Now I'm subscribed. I've had that happen a few times. Darren, he's a quote, oh, I'm a meat popsicle. Yes, I remember that now. But we're going to be back here next Monday, and we'll be talking about the 1968 movie Where Eagles Dare. The movie we talked about tonight was Enemy Mine for the most part, and while I enjoy the movie, I really like the script to it. The script to it's good. You forget about a lot of things in the final half of the movie, so it is one of those films that if you can make it through the first half, you will enjoy the second. The special effects to it are a little cheesy. Really could have used a little bit more financial love from the studio, and I you can see that with the movie. That's the problem. But it's not the favorite movie I've watched here, but it's a good movie. I will probably watch it again in about another 10 years. It's not on my immediate. I got to watch this all over again. No.
Yeah, mine either. Now my point of view has changed since I was young. um, from when I first watched it, the excitement I had because it was a sci-fi, and uh, it had the trailer was really good for it, so it definitely sucked me in. I'm one of those people that really like to watch the trailer, and if the trailer's crappy, then I'm pretty much not going to watch the movie. I mean, I don't know how that works, but apparently it works on me. Um, but I thought it was a very good movie. I mean, I would give it. I would give it 4 stars out of 5 because of the story and the characters they got to play the story. And the only reason I wouldn't give it another star is because of the cheapness, the cheap quality, or whatever overall of the sets and the special effects for the fighting, the dog fight with the spaceships and things like that. That was sad. Now, if all that had been a little more love thrown in that direction, I think it would have been a very successful movie overall because of the arcs of the story, characters. And if you can get past the first 10-15 minutes and actually get into the part where you get to see the interaction between the two main characters on the desert planet, or whatever you want to call it, inhabitable planet, I think that you would really like it, especially if you're into any type of sci-fi. So that's my recommendation for the movie.
I just read something. I don't know how true this is. I've got to check this out before we adjourn.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I know why the trailer was so well loved.
What was it?
The trailer that, if I remember right, it was really good. That's La Fontaine, I believe.
Yeah.
Don't you understand English, toad face? I don't love you and you don't love me.
That there's some really good quips in here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Their interaction between the two, to me, is what pulled me in and kept me and made me care about their interaction and whether they're going to survive or not. That's, to me, is what made it such a good movie.
The script is really good. I wouldn't say it's 4 stars. I'd say probably 3.5. It is a movie I enjoy, but I probably won't watch it for a while. But it's still something that you'll pop it in and you'll enjoy it. I would say that this is there's other movies that are like it. Travis was in here earlier, and he said there's a movie called Hell in the Pacific, which is a lot like it, about two fighters from the war that they crash land on an island together, and it's a lot like Enemy Mine, but it's set in the World War II Pacific, where they have to work together to do that. But if you get a chance and you haven't seen this movie in a long time, it is good. It's just not great. That's the problem with the film. Sorry.
Sorry for what?
Just kind of ripping it on there. I mean,
Oh, that's fine. That's what
yeah.
we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be reviewing the movie from our point of view. And nobody loves every movie. There's no such thing.
No.
Or loves everything about every single movie. But see, I just absolutely love this type of movie. Any sci-fi movie that has a half decent, story at all, I'm going to watch. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm going to love it, but it means I'm interested in it. Those are my very favorite movies. If you have a love story over here and you have a sci-fi, I'm definitely not going to the love story. That's never been me. And I'd much rather see the sci-fi movie, period. That's just my point of view. But not a lot of people are like that. Like I said, I have 4 sisters, and I'm telling you right now, they wouldn't go see the sci-fi. They go see the love story. But oh well, that's their loss. That's how I look at it. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was really good. I mean, it's not the best movie I've ever seen, but I really liked it. I thought the overall story was excellent.
Yeah, the overall story is fantastic. And that's the takeaway. I'm walking away with it. It's a very well crafted story. I can see why Wolfgang did what he did. I just wish he would have had somebody in his stable that could have made the movie look better. There's
Yeah.
one scene, and I couldn't find it when I was scrubbing through the footage, but they get attacked by that underground uh, carnivore that it's got the tentacle that it wraps around him and then it
Mhm.
drags him off.
Yeah.
And you see that, and the scene where it tries to rip off Dennis Quaid's leg
Mhm.
is really well done, actually, because they actually almost get the gore right, and they do a good job right there of making it look like a very bad situation. And the blood, the way that they do the bandaging,
Yeah,
I
it ripped through his clothes.
yes,
And
I
then Louis Gossett's character struggling to make sure he can, save him because he doesn't want him to be gone because he'll be left alone. That's what I'm saying. The struggle between the two, realizing that without the other, they won't survive for their character arcs, which I really liked that whole aspect of it to make it believable to me that they would sacrifice themselves to save the other one because it's better than being alone for the rest of your life on a planet. Because at that time, remember, they didn't know that anyone else was on it or had been to it. So that's why it made it believable to me. And I really liked it.
yeah. And the movie has Byron James in it, or Brian James, what the 80s actor that always plays a tough thug.
Badass.
And he's just a badass. He's a big man.
And he's good at it. He's really good at the bad guys. And he's huge. He's menacing looking. Just walking up to you would scare you or make you pee your pants.
Yeah, he is a big guy. You're probably a little taller than I am, Janet. I think you're what, 5'10", 5'9"?
Now I'm 5'8".
Okay, you're still a little taller than me.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, that's
you're pretty tall, yes.
yeah. For a lady, you're very tall, and it's just like I know this guy was at least 6'2", 6'3", maybe 6'5", and
Yeah.
he towered over everybody in the movies he starred in. So I like watching movies with Byron James. My favorite film that he's been in is Blade Runner, but Tango and Cash isn't too far away from that, and that movie gets kind of funny at a few points. But I'm going to wrap up the stream before the 2-hour 30-minute mark. Would you like to say anything before we head back into the balcony portion?
To the real world. Yeah, please, if you can, if you're interested in political, commentary or conspiracy theories or, going on the dark side of what's government's going on right now, check on tomorrow night when I'm on Drew's channel. Beware the Drew. I don't know if anyone knows what that means, but he's his channel and Supreme Heretic, and we're going to be on the United Resistance tomorrow night. So if you want to join me tomorrow night, it would be great. It'd be fun to see you in the chat over there. But it's going to be a good show. So Drew's all fired up. So it'd be great. So I'll be there tomorrow night.
Right now, we're going to close this down. Everybody that's been here, Tommy, Darren P., DM James, TW, Travis, 1975, everyone that stopped by and said hello, really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And we will be talking about a fantastic World War II film next Monday. Right now, I'm going to grab the link for Comics Division because he's on right now. And if you guys are available to go and check out his show, they're doing a yelling.
It's something when something is supposedly,
they're doing a yelling at parked cars. Almost had that volume up. Oh, but they're talking about politics and scary stuff over there. If you guys want to listen to that, I'll be in there pretty shortly, okay? Janet, I thank you for another successful Monday night.
Oh, thank you. I had fun. I enjoy it as always. And I'll see you guys over at Comics Division's channel. I'll be in the chat because I love that show.
All right. And here's Kurt.